Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our March 26th Planning Commission meeting. We're going to start this meeting at 6 o'clock p.m. Madam Clerk, can you please call roll?
Commissioner Knighton?
Here.
Commissioner Ramirez?
Here.
Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Vice Chair Holler is absent, and Chair Madrid.
Here. Commissioner Knighton, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah, can I get everyone to stand, remove your hats? Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, there are no presentations. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
There are none.
Thank you. Can I ask Planning Commission for all in favor to approve the agenda?
Approve? Her. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, no opposed, so hearing none, the agenda is approved. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak, or would anyone in the audience like to make a public comment?
I have no requests to speak for the non-agenda items.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let me move on to the next matter. Okay, there are two sets of minutes for the Planning Commission's approval. Does the Planning Commission have any modifications? Could I ask the Planning Commission for all in favor to approve the February 12th, 2025 and March 12th, 2025 minutes?
All in favor?
Can we get an all in favor, please?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, so moving on, there are no consent calendar items. This is item 9.1. Could Acting Community Development Director, please introduce this item?
Thank you, Chair Madrid. The following item will be presented by our Associate Planner, Brandon Cleary.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. The project before you is tentative track map 38652, Oak Hills West, PLN 23-0077. The project is located north of the Ridgemore Road and Boulder Crest Way intersection. The general plan designation of the site is 2.1 to 5 dwelling units per acre residential, with the zoning of low density residential -1, which allows for a minimum 10,000 square foot lots. The project proposes 37 lots with duplexes for a total of 74 units on a 77.6 acre site. Utilizing our cluster development requirements, the project is proposing to preserve 84% of the project site as natural open space, with development occurring on the eastern 16% of the project site, or roughly 14 acres. There will be 2 water quality basins, and the HOA will maintain access to the existing trail system on site. Before going into more project specifics, a little bit of background. The county approved a 40-lot single-family residential tract map in August of 2004, which is roughly the same design as the current proposed project without the duplexes. The proposed project's access points will be from Polaris Drive, which is to the east, which is the southern green dot on the lower green dot on this picture, and Boulder Crest Way, which is the one on the left. As I mentioned, the overall layout of the project is similar to the previously approved tract that was never built. Earlier I mentioned about the cluster development standards. The city's cluster development code allows for the reduction to minimum lot size and lot dimensions in exchange for a minimum of 25% of the project site being preserved as natural open space. For this project, it proposes a 84% preserved natural open space in exchange for the reduction of the 10,000 square foot minimum lot size down to 7,200 square feet, which is consistent with the tracks to the south and east. In addition, a reduction to the minimum frontage for a cul-de-sac lot from 40 feet to 35 feet. The overall project proposes approximately 191,000 square feet of landscaping, which accounts for roughly 4.38 acres, mixed between the private slopes, which is the slopes in the rear yards, HOA maintained landscaping on the perimeter of the tract for their fuel modification zone, in addition to front yard landscaping. The proposed project was noticed on February 16th, 2025 for the March 26th Planning Commission hearing. Notices were sent out to all properties within a 300-foot radius of the project site, and on-site posting was provided. Staff has received multiple letters regarding resident concerns, which range from speeding, traffic, duplex compatibility with the neighborhood, biology, trail access, existing and proposed undergrounding of power lines, Section 8 housing, and water restrictions. One item I do want to clarify is this will not be Section 8 housing. It will be market rate duplexes. In addition, the applicant did perform public outreach. They sent out mailers to the surrounding neighbors with the intention of discussing the project with the residents. In addition, there were a couple additional letters we received this afternoon that are now in your blue folders, and a memo clarifying updated mitigation measure clarifying language with Fish and Wildlife that the applicant has agreed to. An initial study mitigated negative declaration was prepared for this project with a public comment period from February 16th through March 16th of this year. Staff's recommendation is to adopt the initial study mitigated negative declaration for tract 38652 and adopt the resolution approving tentative tract map number 38652, PLN 23-0077, generally located north of Ridgemore Road and Boulder Crestway intersection. This concludes staff's presentation. The applicant is here to answer any questions you may have, along with the city's environmental consultant.
Thank you, Brendan. Planning commissioners, do you have any questions for staff?
Go ahead.
I have questions with regard to the trails. Currently, as it stands, are those public trails? And then if this does get approved, what will happen with those trails?
Currently, the trails are on private property, so they're not public at this time. The project proposes to have the HOA maintain a trail access next to Lot 27, which will legalize the trails for access.
Good, thank you, Tammy. Hey, Michael.
Yeah, I got a couple questions for staff. The original map from 2004 shows 40 single-family residential lots. Technically, if they went with the original map with ADU and JADU laws, we actually could have more front doors than the 74 that are proposed, correct?
That's correct. Current state law allows each residential lot to have an ADU that's detached or attached to the main house, along with a JADU, which is a conversion of existing square footage, generally located in the garage.
I saw.
Can I piggyback on that question?
Yeah.
The way they're configured under this plan, they would not be allowed to have an ADU, right? Maybe a JADU, but not a full ADU, as far as because of setback, or no?
So depending on this, State ADU law allows ADUs up to 4 feet side, front, and back setbacks. However, it is to the extent that is allowed, at the very least, what the current dwelling is. So it would be allowed.
Would be allowed, okay.
One of the concerns on one of the slides presented was talking about the Edison lines. In the footprint of what's going to be built there, they are going to be undergrounded and removed.
That's correct. Within the disturbed area, the power lines will be undergrounded.
And another concern I saw was the local infrastructure. Just for clarification, Edison, SoCal Gas, Water District, CDFW, Police and Fire, they've all signed off on everything, and they don't have any concerns?
That's correct.
May I piggyback on one of your questions?
Sure.
Thank you, Michael. With regard to the power lines on the property, you clarified that they're going to go underground. What are the mitigation measures in terms of outages when they're doing that, when they put them underground?
So the developer will coordinate with each individual utility company to minimize any disruptions to service. Generally, it'll be installing it and then just switching the power from one line to another. So there should be very minimal impact.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramirez. I have a question. Could you,
Chair Madrid, if I may just point of clarification to one of Commissioner Nain's questions. Obviously, the project went through a internal city review process that includes various city departments, engineering, fire, police, building and safety, and others, correct? There are several outside agencies, such as EMWD. Obviously, there's still a process that the developer has to go through, do the final engineering for any potential services that they need. That obviously, I'm not sure if they've completed that process, but if they haven't, they still have to go through those agencies to get the proper approvals.
Thank you. And finally, Brandon, Orlando, can you explain the cluster development standards a little bit more detail?
that was my question. Good.
So the cluster development standards were intended for project sites like this where there's a potential for biological or natural resources on the site. If the city wanted those preserved, we created this cluster development where they can push all the development to one portion of the site at a slightly higher density in order to preserve the natural open space at a minimum of 25% of the project site. With that, the exchange for that would be to reduce the lot size and lot dimensions to help accommodate that. Overall, they wouldn't be able to go over the number of units the main project site would be able to accommodate. So, for example, if the whole site itself could accommodate 100 units, they wouldn't be able to go over that if they shoved them all into one corner of the project site. In this case, this property can support up to approximately 240 units if it were a flat, fully developable site. But due to topography, they chose to only do 74 duplexes.
Thank you. That's all for now.
That answered my questions also. Any more questions, commissioners?
Yeah, I've got a couple.
Commissioner Thomas?
Prior to this, there was a map that was approved. They could have built, it expired, right? Is that
That's correct.
Okay, so it's currently zoned for single-family residential. So we're not doing anything new, right?
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay, I'm just asking a series of questions just to confirm. My understanding was that this little area where we're gonna put the houses was actually part of the original map of that whole area, the approved map. Is that correct?
Yes, it's approximately the same footprint.
Okay, so the reason I bring that up is when these houses that are there now for these people that are here living there, this was actually part of that planned development. Is that a correct statement?
That's correct.
Okay. There were some concerns in the letters about the houses being duplexes and rentals and all that. First of all, basically, this duplex, it can't be any higher than a 2-story, right? Is that in the conditions?
It's not in the conditions, it's in our citywide design guidelines to design homes that are generally 2-story or 1-story. We do have height restrictions in the zone, so they'll have to meet those guidelines and kind of blend the architecture in with the surrounding neighborhood, doing single-family house features, design features.
Okay, so I bring this up because tonight we're not approving any elevations, we're not approving any design standards, we're approving basically the zoning for the property, right? Is that correct, Orlando?
You're approving the subdivision of the property.
Okay.
So right now, we have one big lot, and if the commission moves forward with the project, then we would subdivide this property into 38 or maybe with a detention basis, maybe 40 lots, right? So it's a subdivision that you're considering today.
So I bring that up because whether we approve or deny, usually we have elevations and colors and design. We don't have all that. So I just want to make sure that, you know, some of the concerns where these could be huge houses looking down on the ones below, they can't go more than 2-story. There was another concern about these sites are higher in elevation than the lower ones. What mitigation has been done to keep the privacy of the people below? Is there anything that can be done as far as, you know, you got a lot here and then your backyard's here and they're looking right down in it? Has anything in the design standards, or not design standards, the conditions been thought through on this?
There are no specific conditions, obviously. When the project comes back for design review for the homes, there will be design considerations that obviously we'll look at to make sure, you know, try to have the windows more to the sides versus the back to the extent that it's possible. Obviously, perimeter fencing will be required as well. So there are some things that we can do. However, there's no specific conditions because, again, we don't have the product type, so we don't know exactly how it's being designed.
Okay. Let's talk about the product type, even though we're not approving it. When we say a duplex, there's different visions of what duplex is. There can be, you know, go up vertical, or it can be just horizontal. Is the definition of splitting these lots and then a duplex just 2 attached houses, basically, right? Is that correct?
That's correct. These will
Okay.
be side-by-side duplexes.
Okay.
So take 2 traditional tract houses and just have them share a
Okay.
wall.
I just wanted a vision of what's going in there. Let's talk about traffic flow. Can we pull up a map of the presentation? Okay, I've got, what do you got? That would show the traffic, the projected traffic pattern leaving the site. Is there anything that zooms out from that? I mean, here, okay. Not really. We kind of need an aerial. Can we go back to the green dot ones? So the exits what's the main one, right? The access point right there, the first one on the right?
The one on the right is Polaris Drive. So north is to the right. So
Okay.
Polaris Drive goes through the existing Skyview tract.
Yep.
And then south is Boulder Crest Way, which is
Okay.
currently a temporary cul-de-sac.
Okay. So when I was looking at this, if you look at it on a Google Maps version and, you know, kind of see where traffic could flow, it would seem to me that most of the traffic from efficiency would be going down Boulder Crest to Valley and then to out that way towards the freeway. In the traffic study, what percentage of it would be using Polaris? Right there. Do you have any idea? Do we have
From
any assumptions on that? We could, I
my
don't know.
understanding, it was roughly 85% will use Boulder Crest and 15 would use Polaris,
Okay.
if
Okay.
I remember correctly.
Commissioner Thomas, if
Yes.
I may, I just want to make sure we have the right information. We do have our environmental consultant, if he can come up to the podium and confirm the
Okay.
traffic distribution, just to make sure we have the right numbers.
Have to press anything here? Is it on?
Just talk.
Hello?
There you go.
So I do not have the direct percentages on the top of my with me, But what I can say is that when this project was modeled from a traffic perspective, it was below both the AM and peak hour 50-hour trips required to do a full traffic study, a level of service, and a VMT analysis. So the VMT analysis screened out. There was a voluntary LOS analysis that was done, and at the intersections analyzed.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Can you define those terms? Because I'm not sure if
Yeah,
everyone
so-
understands those terms.
Taking a step back, under CEQA, there's generally the accepted way of analyzing traffic impacts is vehicle miles traveled, which looks at a separation from driving from services to services or home to work or whatever. The city has an approved policy that a trip producing fewer than 50 peak hour trips, both during AM and PM, do not require a vehicle miles traveled analysis. So we screened out from that. Per the city's general plan, there's also a level of service analysis required, and that looks at capacity, delay, capacity ratios, certain delays at intersections and whatnot. So we analyzed, with that level of service analysis, we analyzed certain intersections, where traffic was distributed associated with the project. Again, not having to do this because of that fewer than 50 peak hour trips associated with the project. The applicant did it anyways. And the level of service is generally categorized A to F, where A is acceptable, F is unacceptable. Both intersections that accept traffic from this project continue to operate at a LOS A. So
When you
there's
say
not
that intersection of Boulder and Valley, or Boulder and Sun City Boulevard, or what?
I think it's
Murrieta?
Ridgemore. I believe it's Ridgemore.
But Ridgemore and what? At what intersection?
Boulder Crest, I believe.
Ridgemore and Boulder Crest? Okay,
Boulder Crest.
So both points of access.
okay. What do we have, does this project, as they come down Ridgemore connecting to Murrieta Road, which is where most will be coming out, what level service is that road, and will this change that level service at all?
The traffic associated with the project will, as shown through the traffic report, the LOS analysis, to not impact or degrade the LOS at any intersection.
So it will not degrade the letter grade, A,
Correct.
B, B?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, doesn't
Correct.
mean there's not gonna be traffic, it means
Correct.
it doesn't degrade it.
It's
Okay.
very clear. It's
Chair.
I believe 36 AM peak hour trips and 44, 45 PM peak hour trips. So obviously the project is going to generate traffic, and we modeled that, and it is displayed and presented through that traffic study and through the initial study and mitigated negative declaration.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have for you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, pleasure.
And I have one other question for staff. This might be a question for the property owner. There was a concern in the letters about these becoming rental properties. First of all, is an approved use on this lot any kind of multifamily or any rental product? Okay, and then this might be a question for the owner, is what
Well,
would be the?
Let me, let me elaborate on that. Obviously, the zoning does not allow for multifamily
Yeah.
product. Now, there's nothing that prohibits a potential buyer to purchase multiple lots and have the ability to rent those units, but it wouldn't be as a rental apartment
Okay.
product.
So in that vein, to continue that question, I'm just trying to address concerns that were in the letter with staff. What would the approximate sale price be of this? I know we don't have an exact product on that, but what's a range you could expect to pay for
That's
something?
probably a question that's better for the applicant.
Okay, so can we do that now, or do we do it till he speaks? He or
We'll
she
wait until the
speaks?
public hearing.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's all I have. Thank you.
Just a follow-up regarding the rental question. The city is not able to place conditions that would prohibit any property owner from renting out a dwelling that they own, such as a single-family dwelling. So therefore, any of the nearby homeowners could also rent out their units if that is what they so choose. So I just want to make that clear, that that kind of ability to rent out is available to any single family homeowner. Thank you.
Commissioners, if I can just add one additional, just for the benefit of the commission and the audience as well. Mr. Strand, which is our environmental consultant, he was hired by the city. He was not hired by the applicant. And obviously he's, works for a company that they specialize in doing different studies for CEQA purposes, right? So they were hired by us to give us a professional, independent judgment of the potential impacts that would be generated by this project.
Thank you, Director. My question for you, Brandon, is did the cluster enable this amount of units to be doubled? Is that what I understand you to say?
So the cluster development doesn't allow you to go above what the original property would be able to accommodate with the general plan density. So the general plan is 2.1 to 5 units per acre. This project's not exceeding that. Generally, we take a developable standpoint in between, right in the middle,
Right.
so about 3 units per acre. So over the roughly 80 acres, it would be approximately 240 units. In this case, they're only building 74.
So the cluster enabled us to have a higher percentage of open space, so to speak,
That's correct.
is what it did. So there's only, what, 18% is on the building?
About 14%.
14%?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions, Commission?
Yeah, I got one more question.
All right, Michael.
One of the concerns in our blue folder was dust and dust control. I imagine a lot of dirt's gonna be brought in, a lot of dirt's gonna be shifted from a higher to a lower, lower to higher. There's gonna be boulders underneath the existing landscape that are gonna boom, 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 for hours on end. The city does have standards in place to, if there is excessive dust, how does that happen? Can the residents here, can they call a phone number and, make sure that dust is not a concern?
Yeah, there's a
We
sign
have
out there.
inspection department that review all this construction. They are there on a daily basis, make sure that the quality of the air and everything, the trash and all this stuff is being under control with the specification. It's also part of their conditions of approval.
Okay, thanks.
And may I add, there will be a sign out there with the phone number to call.
Yes, that's correct.
If there's any complaints for anyone. Okay.
One question. So can you explain what the mitigation measures are to control the dust? Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I
It's
wanna make
page 11 of 64 of the conditions of approval, which is Exhibit A. Well, Exhibit A, conditions of approval to the tentative track map. There are approximately 20 different provisions relating to fugitive dust control regarding, timing of when the watering has to happen, the monitoring, where the roads, when it has to be swept. So you can take a look at that in the conditions of approval.
All right, Tammy, good question. You okay? Or Thomas? Knighton? Okay, thank you, Commissioners. Okay, so I'll open up the public hearing at 6:29. Madam Clerk, can you confirm that the item was legally noticed and if correspondence has been received?
Yes, it was legally noticed, and the correspondence is included in your folders.
Thank you. I would like to invite the applicant to the podium to speak. Please state your name.
Hi there, my name is Sal Provenza. I'm with Century Property Group. That's the manager of the applicant. I do have a presentation that they're gonna load up here. I almost thought you guys forgot about me. Straight to public comment.
All right.
Okay, so if you go to the next slide, it'd be great. I thought it might be helpful to introduce myself and my company. My name is Sal Provenza. Like I said, I'm with Century Property Group, the manager of the applicant, Oak Hills West LLC. My partner and I have been working together for a very long time, about 20 years. We seek out suitable sites for housing, primarily in areas where there's already a land use approval there, zoning, general plan, things like that. We typically don't go into areas and neighborhoods where we're trying to change that, just implement what the city has already intended with their land use ordinances. We have got several projects that we're currently working on. It ranges, they typically are single-family detached or lower density townhomes. They range from 600,000 up to 5 million. The project this year, we're building a few houses in Encinitas, on the coast. Those tend to be more expensive than the projects in Simi Valley and places like this. So, but just because we're in one location or another doesn't mean that we're not trying to build a high-quality project. When this opportunity came to us, we did look at it and looked at the original land plan that the county approved with the 40 lots. It was too expensive to develop that way. Didn't have enough units to spread the improvement costs over. When it was annexed into the city, the zoning that you guys have does allow for duplexing. We could have developed something a lot bigger, like Brandon had mentioned. We had land plans that we inherited from previous developers. Some have gone bankrupt, by the way. And they had land plans for 184 units going throughout the whole property, all the way over to the Quail Valley area. We didn't think that was appropriate, so we decided to stick with what the county had originally approved and try to be a little more efficient with the project itself. I could bore you a little bit with my details, but I grew up as an architect. I worked for some big builders, including Toll Brothers, a luxury home builder. My partner, Kurt, was a civil engineer and worked for Standard Pacific Homes and groups like that. So, we've been working together for a long time and really proud of the projects that we build. But, we're also very economically focused. So we met in business school. We know the numbers have to work for the project to get built. And we didn't want to be one of those developers that went bankrupt, like John Lang Homes did. Next slide, please. I'm gonna cover this a little bit. I know Brandon covered it a little bit, so I may repeat a little bit. But the original project was approved back in the 2000s by the county, 40 lots. The development has expired. It was a phase of another one. There were lots of land plans that we inherited that we could have used. As much as 184 units. I understand you could actually do more than 240 units, which seems pretty silly, but obviously we're building a lot less. The project's on 78 acres, give or take, maybe about a little more than that. It does conform to the general plan, conforms to zoning. It's only 37 lots, even though you get duplexes, so you get more units, double the units. But all of this is allowable under the code. That's why I can say confidently that it conforms. You have a clustering ordinance. We're giving more than 25% open space, obviously a lot more. And this comes with benefits for the city. So it's lower density. Brandon will tell you that it's 5 dwelling units per net acre, which is true, but it's also less than 1 dwelling unit per gross acre. So it's very low density in my mind. We're preserving the 63 acres. We are providing a better, safer connection to the existing trails at lot 27. So if you look at the plans, you can see a trailhead there. We're undergrounding all the ugly utilities that are there now. Those all will go down and be undergrounded. We think that's a big thing. There are elements, and I don't know if Brandon has our landscape plan to pull up, or someone can pull it up, but I can show you a couple elements of the landscaping that we use to promote some privacy. And then the homes that we're designing, and I know there's a lot of talk about that. Again, we're not here to approve that or ask for that approval, but they are going to be side-by-side duplex units. They're going to look like single-family houses. They will share a wall. That's what makes them a duplex. We're not looking to do a bunch of apartment community type things here. They're going to be high quality. Frankly, I don't know what the price is when we actually go to sale, but the homes in this area are kind of expensive, and this will be slightly less than that. We're not trying to build, you know, a bunch of ADUs and a bunch of small units so we can get the prices to like a third of your home price. We're trying to do just above the market. That's, if we don't do that, then we're not doing our job.
What is the, just a range, what is your expectation of the product?
You know, it's size-wise, probably around 1,600 to 2,000, so good size units. Some of the houses in the neighborhood aren't that big. They're gonna have this single-family quality, so they'll have 2-car side-by-side garages. They'll have backyards. We have a couple plans that will have side yards, so like a kind of a courtyard area. Again, this is all conceptual product. It'll be 2-story. We're not looking to do 3-story. Where the footprint enlarges a little bit, we're actually looking at doing some 1-story elements, so it's not all just 2-story boxes. You know, I grew up as an architect, so I you know, still care about the homes the way they're designed, even though when you talk to builders, it's usually product, right? It's not architecture, but it's gonna be a really high quality product when it's all done. Our intention is to build the houses and sell them as units. Our intention is not to rent them, but as your attorney said, that nothing prohibits us or the next homeowner to rent them, just like I could at my house. So, anyways, that was kind of my spiel on the product itself.
So, Mr. Provenzo, that won't be in the HOA then, that you cannot rent the house?
Correct. I don't
Agree
think
on
it would be legally enforceable
Okay,
to do that.
thank you.
Can you go one next? I also just want to make sure that both the commission and the people in the audience understand that this wasn't something that just got thrown together. We've been working with staff and their consultant chambers for about 3 years. I had actually looked that up because I didn't believe it when I looked on my calendar, but we've been, our first meeting with Orlando was 3 years ago. We submitted our application in April of 2023, so about 2 years ago, and have been working through the mitigated negative declaration, which includes a tremendous amount of studies, as you guys know. I listed them here. I won't bore you with them. I think you guys can see them and read them and know them, but again, it's been very, very studied. We finally got our MND circulated, and at the end, the impacts would be less than significant or less than significant with mitigation. Thomas over Chambers also mentioned we did some studies that aren't always required. So like our level of service traffic study wasn't required. We like to do those to make sure we understand the impact we're having on the environment there. But we do phase ones, we do biological, technical reports, cultural resource assessments, geotechnical studies, noise impact analysis, there's hydrology studies, air quality, greenhouse gas, energy, and fire protection plans. So it's a very well-studied site. It's a very well thought out design. That being said, Orlando mentioned that we still have to go through a final engineering process. So we're gonna take these plans and go through and create documents in order to build them, and you figure out all the details of that as well. Very, very standard. And we're also working with the state and federal agencies for any biological thing. We've already consulted them. We've been working with them for 2 years. So it's a very well-studied site. But to that end, if you guys have any other questions of me or of the project, I welcome them. Thanks for the opportunity.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is that okay? Were standalone detached homes considered for the project at all?
When we first were brought the opportunity to purchase the property, we did look at that. I remember walking through the Woodside project next door and kind of surprised by the price points that they were selling for. But no, economically it doesn't make sense. So, you know, if I had a lot that was already improved with all utilities and landscape and everything, and I could just build a house, that'd be great. But it's really expensive to move dirt around and install that infrastructure. And the number of units that we got as a single family project just wouldn't make that pencil. So our alternative was to do the duplexing.
Any other questions, Commission? Yes, Michael.
You answered most of my questions in your presentation, so thank you. But just for clarification, as far as the rentals go, I mean, at this point, you plan on selling them individually and not be a landowner who owns and just rents the whole project out? The reason I asked that is we recently had a project that was like that came in front of us. And it kind of shocked everybody. But you plan on selling these homes?
Sure, sure. So, again, with the caveat that there's no way to prohibit that.
Yeah.
Our intention is to build for sale product to sell to homeowners. As a caveat, not a caveat, as a little side note, the whole idea of a build for rent market is not working very well right now. So even if I wanted to do that, that's not really available.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that market.
Like you've done some projects.
But I know it exists.
Yeah, you've got some projects in your city that are built for rent. They build them basically a single family or duplex product. They rent them all out under one ownership, and but that market's not very good right now. The buying and building single family homes or duplexes and selling to individual homeowners is the market right now.
Okay, thank you. Also, earlier there was a community outreach. You sent out letters. Was there any personal meet and greets or community meet and greets, or did you get any feedback and actually speak one-on-one directly, or not one-on-one, but maybe 1-on-10? Was that part of your outreach, or did you get any input from your letters that
Sure.
brought that as an idea?
Yeah, we did not get a chance. We typically do not do door knocking. We think it's a little intimidating to go door to door to do that. Frankly, haven't done that in the past. In some cities, there are requirements to do public outreach, and so we follow those guidelines. You might have a meeting, or, in a hotel room or something like that, hotel ballroom, but that wasn't done here. We did send out mailers. It was basically a 2-page frequently asked questions. Based on the letters that we had gotten through the city. After the first notice came out, there were some letters that came through. We tried to address those issues, the density, frankly, a lot of what's in my presentation already, but the density, the product type, the hills, the open space, the traffic, things like that. And then we had an email set up to have any responses come directly to us. If I had gotten anything, I would have responded to them and talked to them, but we got no one calling or emailing.
Excuse me, my apologies. Members of the public, please wait for your turn to make a public comment to respond. The Planning Commission cannot respond to you. Thank you.
And
Next.
you also mentioned the undergrounding of utilities. You plan to do that just on the footprint, which is required for your COA, or are you going to extend it all the way to the Quail Valley property line, the Quail Valley side of your property line?
I don't believe we're doing it all the way through the hills.
So just on the footprint?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The way you said it during your presentation, I want to make sure that was clear.
I honestly don't remember if it goes off our property or because
Okay.
that's federal land above, but
You mentioned square footage. Okay, final question. If approved and not appealed, when you believe you're going to start construction, how long will it take? When you plan on ribbon cutting this project?
that's all handled in the MND, but sometimes the MND is a little more aggressive than reality, just because it takes a long time to draw plans, get through a plan check process, get financing, develop. But generally, for a project like this, we were looking at about 6 months for final engineering and agency permits, another 6 months or shorter of land development. Typically builds each house about 9 months. We do them in phases, so it would probably take another 1.5 years to get through all the 74 units. So it's about 2.5 years, give or take, once we start breaking ground.
Okay. Planning commissioners have any more questions for the applicant?
Chair, I apologize. I believe we need to ask the applicant if he agrees to the conditions of
Yes,
approval.
you're right. Do you agree to the conditions of approval?
Yes, I've read them and we agree.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you very much. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak, or would anyone in the audience like to make a public comment?
I have 9 requests to speak, and I apologize for all the names I'm about to say incorrectly. First, I have Jonathan Rose.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, community. Everything I've heard tonight, well, this evening, basically tells me that we, the homeowners, are going to be punished. Punished for investing into a city, for investing into a home, into a life for not only ourselves, but for our children. Now, you're talking about HOAs going to cover these trails, the very HOA that we've all struggled to pay year in and year out to get nothing. Yet these duplexes are going to get built in and they're going to get trails when we get nothing. The only thing we had was that damn hill. And now you're talking about taking it away. My house is one of the very last ones at the end of that cul-de-sac. And you're telling me that you're going to have people looking down into my backyard, taking away my privacy. You say it's not going to impact traffic. You're building 74 units with the average family owning 2 vehicles. That's anywhere between 140 to 200 people, times that by cars. You're saying it's not going to impact the traffic flow? Ridgemore Elementary School barely has enough student-to-teacher ratio to educate the kids that we have there. I have 5 children who are going to go to that school. I have 2 that go there now. This is going to impact us. Do not trust this man. The very fact that he has to keep reiterating that there is nothing against the law for him renting it out tells you everything you need to know. Do not trust him, because right now is your time to shine, to stand up and keep this small town feel that we all moved here to enjoy. We don't want another San Diego. We don't want another Los Angeles. Day in and day out, for all of us who have a Ring camera, see the increase in crime year over year. Busted mailboxes, vagrants everywhere, gunshots, helicopters at night. That's San Diego. That's Los Angeles. That's San Francisco, not Menifee. Now you have a chance to reward our investment. And I ask that you think about this, because how would you like me to build in your backyard, looking into your back window, looking into your children playing in their backyard, having cars drive up and down the street? These are going to be renters. Make no mistake, he is going to rent to renters. And we as homeowners have values instilled into our community. We have roots instilled in here. Renters do not. If I have issues with my neighbors, I'm stuck there for the next 20, 30 years. We're going to work it out. Renters don't have that luxury. Renters are here today, gone tomorrow. They care not about the property. They care not about the community, because they will be here today, gone tomorrow. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Next speaker.
I have Sonia Verduso, followed by Lisa Dewitt.
Good evening. Commissioners, my name is Sonia Verduzco, and I'm here today as a concerned resident of Menifee, speaking on behalf of my neighbors who will be directly impacted by the Oak Hills West development. While we understand the need for growth, we must ensure that it's responsible growth, and I know that you all know that. The current plan of 74 duplex units with an estimated 50% or more as rentals does not meet that standard for our satisfaction as taxpayers in this community. Let's talk about traffic safety and limited neighborhood access. One of the most pressing concerns with this project is that our neighborhood currently has limited entrances from the major thoroughfare roads of Newport and Marietta Road. These limited access points already create congestion during peak hours, making it difficult for residents to enter and exit safely and efficiently, particularly at the base of La Ladera and Normandy that butts up against the Audie Murphy community. This development will also increase traffic through the 55+ communities in Sun City off of Ridgemore, where our senior residents highly value their safety and quiet neighborhoods. To make matters worse, there's already an existing dead end at the end of Honey Run that was originally planned to connect into the Audie Murphy neighborhood, but either the builder or the city failed to complete it. This incomplete road could have provided much needed relief by offering an additional entry-exit route for our community. Not only does this project do nothing to improve access, it's only going to worsen these existing problems. The current plans do not include additional access roads, meaning that all new traffic from the development would funnel into our neighborhoods where we already face increasing traffic and speed. Also increasing wait times, more frustration for residents, reducing emergency response efficiency, and of course, my notes would decide to switch off right when I was on a roll. 59 seconds. So reducing emergency response efficiency for fire, medical, and law enforcement vehicles. Seconds matter in an emergency, and limited access could cost lives. As it is, we already live up the hill, far away from the main roads. This would also create significant safety risks for children, pedestrians, and cyclists, as more cars will be funneled through the neighborhood streets not designed for such high volumes of traffic. Acknowledging that these will be cluster duplex, potentially rental properties, I would ask you what would be the impact on parking as well. I'm gonna quickly just ask you to not adopt the resolutions, not approve the development, address the issue of limited neighborhood access, reconsider the density and potential rental heavy nature of this project, reevaluate the traffic study, require more mitigation measures, and ask that you prioritize our safety, our infrastructure, our well-being of current and future Menifee residents. Please do not adopt the resolutions or approve the development. Thank you.
Hey, hold on a second. Hey, wait. Hello? Come back here for just a second. What was the name of the street you referenced? Honey Run?
Honey Run.
Honey Run, H-O-N-E, okay. I don't see it on the map. Okay.
It's down below. It's off of La Ladera, coming right out of the Newport Hills 2 community. It's a dead end, and I can tell you that those of us that go down there already see cars that park, doing who knows what, and we don't want more of that in our neighborhood.
Thank you, Sonia.
Oh, and that is where vehicles go and children, young people do the little spin outs and hit my neighbor's walls, right? They're a danger to themselves and to the people who live there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Lisa Dewitt, followed by Christina Rosa.
Good evening, I'm Lisa Dewitt, and for reference, my family lives in the home to the right of the green dot on Polaris and Ganymede. I'm here today as a dedicated and engaged citizen of Southwest Riverside County to express my strong opposition to the proposed duplex community behind my home. While I understand the importance of growth and development in Menifee, I have serious concerns about the negative impact this project will have on our community. First and foremost, this development will invade the privacy of existing homeowners. A multi-unit complex directly behind single-family homes means increased visibility into private spaces, disrupting the sense of security and comfort that myself and my neighbors enjoy. Additionally, our city's infrastructure is already struggling to keep up with demand. Many roads in the area are outdated or insufficient for increased traffic, and further development will only worsen the congestion and safety. On top of that, our schools are already at capacity. Adding more families to the district will overburden our education system that is already stretched thin. This project will also have financial consequences for current homeowners. High-density housing near single-family homes has historically been linked to decreased property values, negatively affecting those of us who have invested in Menifee and our community. I also want to mention that when my husband and I purchased our home in 2023, per our agreement, there was no intention to build on this area, and I know many of my neighbors know that as well. I recognize that decisions like these are hard work and careful consideration, and as someone who is personally and professionally involved in this region, I am specifically in the real estate industry. I respect the responsibility that our city leaders carry, and I appreciate your full consideration of our concerns. I urge you to listen to these voices of our residents and reconsider this development in favor of solutions that preserve the character, privacy, and stability of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Christina Rosa, followed by Floralee DeLeon.
Hi, my name is Christina Rose, and I live at the end of Boulder Crest Way. I am the second house to the end. 11 years ago, I decided to move to my forever home, located off of Boulder Crest Way. My family made our beautiful house of 3 incredibly fast. With only 3 occupants starting out like wildfire, it is now a home to 5, going on 6 children. My home was beautiful with mountain views from the front door to green hills covering my backyard. That is all changing way too fast. I no longer see the mountains while I drink my coffee in the morning. My line of sight is filled with newly built homes. These homes consist of people just like me who wanted to purchase a home on a tiny lot of land, away from all the commotion. I cannot complain about that, though I can complain about my cul-de-sac becoming a through street and my backyard being laden with renters who have no skin in the game. For 11 years, I have paid $90 per month to our HOA to maintain my land that is considered to be on an easement that this land will be touching. Soon that will be filled with duplexes with a perfect viewpoint into my bathroom and my son's bedroom. This, I feel, invades my privacy I desperately looked for while I was choosing my forever home. I have personally paid $11,200 to the HOA to guarantee that my land will be well maintained, and the walking trail that does not have a private property sign, Brandon, except when you go behind my property. That was the only thing we had, was a walking trail, and now that will soon be bulldozed down for a lease per occupant per duplex. Though my feelings are most likely falling on deaf ears, I would like to start stating facts. Ridgemore Elementary is home to over 800 students. That is a 45% growth since 2021, with that being only able to home 90 IEP students. With proper accommodations for those 90 students, while the national average of education is in a decline, we need more resources before bringing in 72 duplexes. Though I cannot stop the inevitable, I humbly ask you to stop the build on the planned duplexes that will sit behind my home. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Floralee De Leon, followed by Eli Concepcion.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Floralee De Leon. This will be just a short speech, so I just want to ask the city to please hear us and please consider our concerns. We have been living here for years, and we love our peaceful and quiet neighborhood. All we wanted was to keep it the same way. Most of our neighbors that have become our friends, even family, have been living in this community for more than 20 years. This will be a big change to most of us. Please consider our concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leon.
Eli Concepcion, followed by Greg Pesco.
Hello, I'm Eli Concepcion. I live on Ganymede Way. I didn't prepare a speech, but I just wanted to get my points across. I came from the Bay Area and moved here in 2023 of November, wanted to get away from the city life or the sardine in a can types of houses because I wanted to raise my young daughter, who's 4 right now, in a nice community. I love Menifee so far. The retail shops, the churches, the schools, even though there's traffic on Newport, on lunches and dinners, I still love the place. And for this proposition to come about suddenly, it's the first thing I hated about the city thinking of accepting, whether or not it is going to get approved. But first of all, I specifically chose our lot because it was private. It was against the hills of where they're trying to propose to build this site. And I waited 4 hours, 6 a.m. to get in line to get this house, near freezing 32-degree weather in February of 2023. Now they're trying to take this away. So my first point is, my mom has stress-related heart palpitation. The trails in the back of our house is something that helps her relax because that is what the doctor prescribed. So having to look behind her house if this proposal was to be approved, we're gonna see duplexes, which will not help her health. Number 2, I'm in the middle of renovating my backyard and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you're telling me you're gonna have 2.5 years of development ruining our quality of living and we can't enjoy our outdoor living, our pool and our spa, what are we gonna do? Wait until the dust settles, until we can enjoy what we paid so expensive for? And I know you're gonna have a billboard for complaints, but what if nobody answers that phone call? Are you guys gonna go to our backyard or see all the dust in our property just to do something about it? Or can we call the city because no one's answering the developer's hotline? Number 3, yes, I am worried about privacy. You can see half an acre worth of my backyard from this development. You're telling me you're gonna build 2-story high duplexes on a 20 to 30 feet slope? You guys are gonna do something about windows that mitigate privacy, right? But it's probably for the duplexes and not ours. For me to privately secure our privacy, it would cost tens of thousands of dollars for me to build 50 feet hedges, and then for me to tint my windows, which is 20 feet high, just so none of the new people living in the duplexes could have direct sight of us. And who could promise me that there's not gonna be any sexual predators or deviants from the contractors or the people that's gonna live there, right? Just 2 weeks ago, we had a raid in our Menifee home of a sergeant from
Sir,
SDSU,
I
right?
apologize. Your 3 minutes is up.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Greg Pasco, followed by Jim Noon.
Easy, easy. All right, I've lived up in this neighborhood for 20 years. I bought.
You state your name, please.
Like I said, I've been living up in
Sir,
this neighborhood for.
would you state your name,
Oh,
please?
I'm sorry, Greg Pasco. Thank you. I'm third house from the end of the cul-de-sac up there at Boulder Crest. I've lived up there for 20 years. I watched my house being built. So I watched the community behind us being built. But, you know, you talk about your traffic impacts and the traffic. I have no traffic. Not yet. You open that up, and I'm going to have all kinds of traffic. So I don't know how you do a traffic study on something that's not even open yet. So, you know, I took some pictures today at the end of the cul-de-sac. I can see where the duplexes are going to be much higher next to the last house down there on the left and up around the back. We're no longer going to have any view of the mountains over there. You're going to go out there and look, and you're going to look up, and you're going to see that much of the mountains across the top of all those duplexes. You know, why would you put duplexes up in a community like ours, so far away from, you can't walk to the store, it's 2.5 miles away. So why are we doing duplexes so far away from downtown like you have around, you know, down here? You know, City Hall, around this neighborhood where everything's real close, where everybody can get to it. Not only that, but you also approved a program, or all the apartments down there off of Normandy with the medical centers. How much more traffic are you? Nobody's even living there yet, and you haven't even considered the traffic out of there yet. That's going to back up Normandy. You know, so I hope you don't approve this project. It's too bad that it doesn't go back to the original where it's single-family homes, you know, on 10,000 square foot lots, you know, to that way it blends in with the rest of us, because Sal pretty much said it. They're going to be sold for less than ours. You're going to bring down our home values. Anybody going to give us money for that, bringing down our home values? I mean, this is why we buy a home. Isn't that the American dream? We buy a house, it appreciates. Maybe someday we can afford to sell it and maybe go pay something off somewhere else or something, but you're going to ruin our home values by doing this project, especially by putting duplexes up in that area. I understand, you know, you're not going to make as much money, but, you know, when is money the alternative? You know, I understand the city's going to make more tax revenue off of duplexes, but it's not going to help us. And we are the residents, and we are the ones paying the taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
I have Jim Noon, followed by Brian Young.
Hi, my name is Jim Noon. We purchased a house that is just one house off the cul-de-sac. You know, we're the second house in from the end of the cul-de-sac. Cul-de-sac was a big reason why we chose that. Just because of the lower, you know, especially the lower traffic. There's a lot of kids that play on the cul-de-sac or on the streets there. And we're going to go from this sleepy little cul-de-sac of maybe 20 cars a day. And according to your study, this study submitted, 85% of the traffic exiting that is going to come down Boulder Crest. So that's about 433, cars going by per day. Also, in the issue of the dust, there's 108,000 cubic yards that's going to have to be excavated, according to the studies. About a third of it's going to be used for fill, and the rest is going to come rumbling past Greg's house and my house, to haul it away. There's other consideration. Well, is Sal still here, or did he leave? He's right here. Oh, Sal, your name was associated with Oak Hills West LLC, and then I see that site has disappeared. It wasn't much, but I don't find it. Now you're associated with WD Land, and I thought I heard a third name today of the company. You said that you were Century. So anyway, it just raises a red flag with me. I had also understood that it was going to be a requirement that potential buyers have to buy both sides of the duplex. It wasn't mentioned tonight, and to me, you lose 90% of your potential buyers, when you do that. And I just think it's an opportunity for someone like Tricon to just say, okay, we'll take them all before they even go to market. And then it's a purely rental situation. It's also common, it's well known that when you take rental properties like this and inject them in an area with single family homes, it's going to bring down the value. And I saw all these environmental impact studies, no economic impact studies. What it's going to do to us. Who is going to make us whole? I mean, if Menifee wants this so badly, maybe they could just suspend our real estate taxes.
Sir, I
for 10 years.
apologize. Your 3 minutes is up.
Thank you, Jim. Time's up. Thank you.
And the only other fallback position would be go back to single-family homes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Next, I have Brian Young.
Hello, I am Brian Young, and I live with my wife in one of those green dot homes. We're immediately east of the proposed development. I fully support all the comments I heard today. But I'd like to emphasize just a couple of them and kind of respond or talk up some of the comments from our developer friend. I think everyone's experience, and you've heard it today, if you put a duplex in a single-family detached home community, it's going to affect the value of the homes. There's no doubt about that. That has a negative impact. But a couple of things is, first off, he said it didn't pencil out as single-family homes. Well, I agree. Then why would we allow them to build duplexes? Because it doesn't pan out. Well, then build somewhere else with single-family home. Why impact us the benefit of developer? So, that's just beyond me. And the second thing is, notice how he evaded the question about what his prices would be. You asked him twice or three times how we would price the houses, and he neglected to answer your question. I think for a reason. Anyway, we hope you turn down this proposal.
Thank you, Brian. Do you have any other speakers, Madam Clerk?
I have no other speakers.
Can I ask I see the fire marshal's here. Can I ask the fire marshal to come to the podium? To speak about this very high fire zone?
I didn't know who asked the question, so I apologize, but Sonia Boo, I'm the
Hi,
city
Sonia.
fire marshal. So the specific area, is that what the question is for the specific project area, or is that what we're allowed to talk about? Okay.
Yeah.
So this specific project is zoned as a very high fire severity zone. Those zones are set forth from the California's CAL FIRE division. This specific project did have hazard mitigations and an additional review that was done by the fire department for the specific project. This specific project would require additional measures, meaning defensible space. Oh, gotta go. No, I'm just kidding.
That's not your phone.
Thank you. This project would require additional elements to the homes getting built within this development. 7A requirement is required on these homes, which would be addition to a regular home getting built, but measures such as tempered glasses on the windows, closed eaves, 1 hour rated construction, different type of roof materials that lie within those houses. In addition to that, they're required to have fuel modifications, so there will be defensible space in there. There's different levels of mitigation, so there's a 0 to 5 zone, a 5 to 30 zone, 30 to 100 zone. So maintaining defensible space around that development and around the adjacent developments, we look into that. We also require secondary access within those developments. So those are some of the measures that we looked into when reviewing this internally. As Orlando mentioned, the internal departments looked at it. So in addition to the regular review that we have done, we've done additional review, making them go out to a third-party consultant, put together a FireWise report, and then brought that in for additional review to ensure that that project would meet the safety requirements in a high fire area.
Great. Thank you, Sonia.
Welcome.
Okay. If there are no further speakers, then I will close the public hearing at 7:12 p.m. Does the Planning Commission have any other comments or discussion?
I have a couple questions. Orlando, this might be your question. So if you look at Audie Murphy or other developments in Menifee where there's levels, the different houses that go up, typically what you'll see is like the Oasis. If a house is here and there's a lot here, they don't put the house right on the edge. They push it back so that the windows can't see down. Is that one of the design criteria in this at all?
That's intentionally done. There's no specific, like our design criteria standards that we have don't speak to that, but it's just general standard that we would look at those kind of features in order to not impact surrounding properties as much.
Okay, the other question I have is, this project is not asking for a general plan amendment or a zoning amendment, right? It's simply, it is currently zoned and entitled under the current plan. Is that correct? Or are they asking for a change of any zoning or anything?
That's correct. The property zone for single-family residential, the proposed duplex, it's a permitted use under that zoning designation, right? So you have standard single-family homes that are allowed. In this particular case, a duplex is also allowed. In addition, as you know, the state also mandates that we allow ADUs as well, right? So, but that's in addition to.
Third question. What type of, besides setting the house back from the eastern edge of the property so there's no physical ability to look down, what other type of privacy infrastructure can be required that would ensure the privacy? Are we talking I think that, is it a cinder block, 6-foot cinder block wall? What else can be done to mitigate the privacy issue? If I were living down below them, I would not want someone looking in my backyard. So what are some other development options that could be deployed here?
Landscape.
Typically, landscaping in the rear yard is not a requirement. However, it's within the planning commission's purview to require additional landscaping on the rear that would assist with screening, obviously on the new properties, right? Again, it's not a condition at this point, but that's something the planning commission could consider.
So that screening is similar to, like, we've approved some industrial buildings up north, and we've done screening around when they're located next to residential. And so I think that at maturity, 30-foot tall trees, things like that, that has been used as screening. Okay, so that's an additional optional condition.
The only concern, obviously, because due to the high fire zone, there's probably going to be limitations on the type of landscaping, right? So, to the extent that certain type of trees are allowed,
Okay.
then that would be an option.
So what would be allowed? I mean, instead of speaking in generalities, what would be allowed? Maybe the fire marshal could speak. That would be allowed, that would act as screening. A shrub ain't going to do it. So what would be allowed?
I'll defer this to her, but I would think that there would be some trees that would be allowed in. Again, I'm not a landscape architect, so I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly, but I'm not sure if she has any answers for us.
So within the report that was already conducted and that we reviewed, there's a plant species list in there that would identify specific plant materials that are allowed in high fire areas. So it would have to comply with the report that was already conducted. So there are species in there that do allow for plant materials, but it would also go, the plants or mature trees would have to be separated by a certain distance. So the report will go into depth and detail as to what plants and what separations. The report will go into irrigation of certain types of planting materials as well. But it is very specific because it is in a high fire area.
Okay. Let's talk about Honey Run. Can we pull that up on the map? Can IT pull up Honey Run? I want to understand this better. I've got it here, but I don't think anyone else is seeing it up there. Coming. Is IT there? Should I knock on the door? What?
While we're waiting, can I ask a clarifying question?
Of course.
The lot, will it be sold as a lot? I guess this is question for our developer. I don't know.
Will you please ask the question?
Yeah.
If we defer to the developer, we'll open the public hearing.
Thank you, Ty. I mean, yeah, sorry. Will it be sold as a lot, or will the duplexes be sold separately? I didn't.
Yeah,
I need that clarified.
the duplex will be constructed on one lot. So if when the properties are sold, it will be the lot will be sold, which will include the two units.
So
Thank
can they
you.
be sold as separate units?
No, they cannot.
IT, go a little bit north.
Okay, we'll get back to that issue real quick.
Excuse me, I would like to remind, please, we're going to go ahead forward with this, and then if there are other public comments, if the chair so chooses, we can reopen the public hearing. Thank you.
Okay, so where is Honey?
IT, will you please bring that up to the screen also, not just for the computers? Thank you.
IT, if you go a little bit north, a little bit higher. A little bit higher. Okay, the street that's north of those water basins. You could stay right there.
Okay, so this development would be coming down Valley, right? And they were saying that it would be better to have Honey Run connect up to Audie Murphy. Is that correct? Am I understanding this? But what, no, no, you can't legally right now. We'll get to you, I promise, I understand, there's legalities
Yeah,
here.
you had your turn, now it's our turn, so.
Just give us a minute, we're gonna hear you.
Please be patient.
So-
Commissioner, I think, from what I understood, I think there's obviously a few ways to get to the site.
Oh, Boulder Way, okay.
Richmore, obviously, it's one of the ways. I think the other way, it's Honey Run as well. But obviously, if you go through Honey Run, you would have to go through some of the short local streets in order to make it. I think it would be Honey Run, and then eventually make it to Boulder Crest, and then go north to the development.
Okay, but there was mentioning connecting to Audie Murphy, which is over to the west, right? Right here, okay. Did the city staff see any value of improving Honey Run as an additional improvement for traffic on this? Okay. Because I can't see it, connecting of anywhere of worth right there. Okay.
Commissioner Chris, this main road would be, the main access would be Ridgemore. They could go all the way down to Honey Run. We don't have any CIP project at this moment for that. We have some CIP project to enlarge Valley Boulevard and connect Valley Boulevard in the future, all the way down, but nothing on Honey Run at this moment.
Okay, I understand. So if we could go back to the other, her question about they're being sold as a lot, not as individual dwelling units, which does raise some concern because it does encourage the rental market. Okay, there's just no way around it. So is there any way legally of well, I don't understand why you can't sell different units, because there's condos built on one single lot, airspace condos, things like that, and they're sold as individual units. What's precluding this from being sold as individual units?
Yeah, this is not a condo map. This is a single-family subdivision that will have 2 units on each lot.
So he would have to have a GPA, a general plan amendment, to change it?
That's more of a multi-family type of design that obviously this zone wouldn't allow it.
But multifamily is rental. What about condos, which are individual ownership? So if, like, for example, you could have a lot and it could have 5 condos on it, even single story if you got space, if it's a big enough lot, and they're sold as individual units, but it's still one. They just, the county makes different assessor parcel numbers for them.
Yeah, that will be considered more of again, like a condo map, which is not permitted in that zone.
It's not permitted. Correct. So is it not permitted by zone or by land use? In other words, you'd have to do a GPA for the land use, but to change the zone is a much simpler, less costly process.
They're both the same. I mean, obviously, the land use comes from the general plan. The zoning, obviously, it's to implement the general plan. So you would have to change both.
You'd have to have a GPA.
Correct.
Okay. So I didn't realize that these had to be sold as one unit, which does encourage the rental market. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So okay. We'll get to you. We'll get to you. We'll clarify.
Hold on, please.
We'll clarify. So that's my. So this is my. We're in discussion phase, right?
Yes.
Okay. I don't want Ty coming down on me again. No. She's sweet. Don't worry.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is discussion between the commission, and you need to speak again. We'll give you a chance.
We'll open up the I'm sure we could sweet talk him into opening the public hearing again. So, I would propose. Okay, so if I were living down below, well, first of all, I'll say this: this land had an approved land use and zoning for this for years. This is nothing new. Like when I moved into my property, there was nothing around my property off of Scott Road, nothing. We used to ride our horses across them. It's surrounded by tract homes. I knew darn well that would become something one day, and that's what I needed to own. Now, having said that, I would not, that means that unless we can come up with something that they've done illegal here, we can't really deny it. They'll just appeal it to the council, they'll win, will cost everyone a lot of money. Now, what we can do is mitigate this. So my proposal is on the eastern edge lots that would be looking down, is that they have a requirement for additional landscaping or screening as a condition of approval. Secondly, that the houses are set back to the west, to the complete western edge of the property, even if we have to give a different setback towards the front to keep them away from the edge, ensuring the privacy of the homes below. And maybe the developer could consider, I know there's gonna be a trailhead there on lot 27. Is that simply gonna be a sign saying trailhead, or is it gonna have some kind of improvement? Maybe that could sweeten the deal a little bit, because their concern is that they're gonna lose, I guess, access to the trails. The trails are still gonna be there behind this. There's nothing gonna change, but maybe beautifying. I know like at other places, there's a trailhead, there's a gate, there's trash enclosures, there's a water, whatever it is. Something that we could improve would be something to consider here to sweeten the deal a little. And what? Dog stations or something like that. So those are my considerations. We'll pull them back up here. We'll talk about the issue of the one lot and the condo map thing. So what else do you three have in regards to this?
Well, you're right, because this is consistent with the general plan. Everything that a landowner needs to be able to build on their property, they can. That doesn't mean we dismiss what we heard from the residents, but that's a good start, what you're thinking. Commissioner Ramirez?
One of the constituents and residents brought up Normandy and the apartment complex there that's being built. And I know that the traffic study did not study that point. I'm wondering if that could be reintroduced in terms of at least studying that portion.
Maybe staff can address that?
Are you asking for the traffic study for this project or for the other project?
So the impacts of this project and the potential impacts of the Normandy project and how that might impact traffic going to and from those projects, because the traffic might funnel into Normandy.
Yeah, if I'll ask our consultant to just briefly explain how a traffic study is conducted. Obviously, there's a cumulative analysis that it's done, which includes projects that are already approved and projects that are on the queue as well. So what they do is they bring in those additional trips that are on the, meaning in the process, or either on projects that are in the process of being reviewed or approved, and they're added into the model. And that traffic is also analyzed and included as part of this analysis. But if there's anything else our consultant can add.
Sorry, is he gonna come up now or later? Yeah, no?
Yes, you can come and answer that question.
So yeah, just building off what Orlando said, the first part of any traffic study is getting into an agreement with the city as to what the traffic report's going to study, so intersections. But to answer your question, the other thing is cumulative projects recently approved, in the process of being approved, and then reasonably foreseeable. So all of those are built into the model. Again, that answers your question. Coming back to...
Real quick, go back to that. So did the apartments in Normandy, were they included in the analysis?
Yes.
They were?
Yes.
Okay, so is that your question? Yeah.
Can I speak on Normandy? We're looking at today, but the Valley expansion over to Marietta Road, which is a current CIP project right now, that will... The only reason I could see anybody going to Normandy and Berea would be if they're gonna go to work or go to Lake Elsinore along Newport River Canyon to the 15. I think once Valley Boulevard is complete, they'll be using Valley Boulevard. And the only person going down through La Ladera are the middle school drop-offs and pickups. I really don't see people in La Ladera, That Track Homes, and Audie Murphy East being affected by this project. Just an opinion, but that's just my opinion.
That missing link will be built. There was one huge, gigantic mistake made here, guys, and that was the lack of communication with the applicant and the residents. And that's what's going to fix this, I think. Commissioner Thomas's ideas will fix it also, but there were valid concerns by the residents, but legally we're bound to this approval. So,
May I speak?
yeah,
May I speak?
yes, please.
Don't know if the audience is going to agree with me on this one either. But when I visited the site, I passed directly in front of Ridgemore Elementary School, and my immediate concern was the traffic at that school site. So I went back a few days later, sat in my truck from 6:55 to 7:45 a.m., which you all know is the start of school, that first bell. I wanted to do my own traffic observation. How bad is that school? I don't know. I never had a child go to Ridgemore. My child went to Quail Valley, and then Menifee Valley, and then currently is at Paloma. So I sat there with my dog, so I didn't look like a creepy old man in front of an elementary school, and I counted cars. Counted cars. And during that time period, I'm assuming morning drop-off is busier than evening or afternoon pickup. That's just my guess. Because from what I've seen with my own child, afternoon pickup is more spread out. But like I said, these are just my opinions. 57 cars passed the school with no children during that time period. And most of those cars were from 6:55 to 7:25 a.m. The school drop-offs coming from the north and coming from the west, where this project will be built. There was 135 vehicles. And the majority of those vehicles were from 7:25 to 7:45, 20-minute time period. During that time period, I'll be honest, it was chaos, absolute nuts. But it was a 20-minute time period. But one thing I did notice, the chaos was not from the number of vehicles. It was caused due to people not following traffic laws. They were parking illegally. I parked up against the red. I had a consistent people parking for 30 minutes. People parking in front of me in a red zone, blocking the daylight. Is it a daylight intersection law there, officer? No, I heard that you can't even park 20 feet from a crosswalk anymore. But anyways, you're not in traffic? Well, you might want to learn something if you go over there. But anyways, I don't believe the traffic, the amount of vehicles was the issue. I think it was just the parents taking advantage. Hey, I'm more important than you are. Things like that. Like I said, I witnessed numerous traffic and parking violations. The LOS I observed falls in between categories A, B, and C with an occasional D due to just people taking advantage of the crossing guard, holding up one sign right there at Phoenix, and everybody coming up off Phoenix. They were blocking Ridgemore. Everybody coming off Phoenix, they weren't even stopping. It was like that. Then all of a sudden, someone on Ridgemore would stop, let their kids out in the middle of the road, and then the traffic intersection. So yeah, it did get bad, and I agree that the traffic at, what's that? I know. So anyways, I don't think that's gonna be an issue with the amount of residents. The other thing I want to point out is I received data from MUSD regarding new builds. Every new build that the city proposed, or that comes in front of the city, there's a contact with MUSD. That being said, MUSD analyzes the number of builds, and they determine how many students they project in each development. And according to their numbers, there's 24 students. 17 students will be going to Ridgemore, and 7 will be going to Catherine Newport. Based on MUSD numbers.
So Commissioner, there was a lot of complaints about, or mention of school by the residents,
That's why I'm bringing it up.
and we don't have jurisdiction
Oh,
on
I know.
school.
I know. I'm just laying down
So, yeah, no, I
laying
know.
down information that because I do have information from
Appreciate it.
MUSD.
Appreciate it.
Another thing that's not known, but at the last school district meeting, school district is interested in purchasing the property at McCall and Valley, which will bring in, which is designed to reduce student occupancy. I know some people brought up the overcrowding. So,
All right.
And
Good job.
another thing I was mentioned was Normandy. That 236 unit apartment complex that was brought up, or came in front of planning, that's 3 years ago, 2022. One of the main concerns, there was petitions even that were brought in front of here, was increased traffic, or not, I'm sorry, got sidetracked. Decreased property values.
Okay.
I looked at those homes in that neighborhood, and since 2022, the property values have not gone down. So it's my opinion that the property values are not going to decrease the homes there in that little triangle. And so that's just what I got. I'm just presenting that to
That's good information.
this commission. So.
Good job, Commissioner.
If you don't have any more questions or comments, can we pull up and just get some answers about the
Will you turn on your mic, please, Commissioner? Thank you.
You want to call up the applicant again? Is that what you're saying?
Let's open up, do we have to open the public hearing?
Yes, Chair. If you'd like to bring up the applicant to answer some of the questions that were raised by the commission or to clarify any of the comments, please reopen the public hearing.
Okay, we're going to reopen the public hearing at 7:38 p.m. Commissioner Thomas.
So if we could have the applicant come up.
Val, we need you up on the podium.
So the first question is, you have to sell the lots as a duplex. You can't sell them as individual units, and you disagreed.
Yeah, our intention is to sell each individual unit to a home buyer. So you'd have a shared wall with someone who owns that unit next door, and it could be someone who is not under the same ownership.
So intention is nice, but what's the legality of it, Orlando?
Yeah, there's condominium laws that allow for that. That's what happens in Corona Del Mar. On a single lot, you can have 2 units.
But what I think he's saying is, if you go through title, it has to be a certain land use to allow that. He's saying that you do not have that land use as single family, right? Is that correct? That you would have to change to a condo map to do that. Is that correct, Orlando?
That's my understanding.
I don't think that's
my
correct.
understanding, correct.
Actually, I have one of our counsel here. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. Okay.
So, Ty, do you have any knowledge of this?
I don't. We did not discuss this as selling each individual dwelling on the lot separately. It's our understanding that the whole lot would be sold to one property owner. However, I just want to clarify that under our municipal code or development code, the duplex selling one lot to one property owner is how we understand it per our single-family residential designation. If each dwelling were sold to individual property owners when they share a wall, For us, that would be a condo map and not, and which would be considered multifamily residential and not single-family residential.
So you may want to clarify that, because if your revenue numbers are based on in selling individual units and it would not make it through title or approval at the city level, that's going to be a problem.
We'll look into it, but I firmly believe that we can sell each individual unit separately.
Okay. So that's,
Again, that only reinforces the fact we're trying not to rent these.
I understand the problem, and I understand most likely that's what you'll do, but the problem is we've had experience in the past where people say one thing and do another. That very well may not be you. My dad was a developer. I understand what you're saying. I'm with both sides here, but unfortunately you have to go by the letter of the law to do these things.
Sure.
Would you be open to arranging the housing, like I said, to be along the edge, it would be looking down, to be moved the house on the lot to the more westerly side so that it can't physically look down? Has less ability. In other words, move the setback of the house farther to the west on that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure, I absolutely understand what you're saying. I'm trying to remember the land plan in my head. I don't know if we can bring that up. Is it possible to bring up the land plan? Maybe the landscaping plan?
I'm sorry, we were having a conversation about the lot and the configuration of the lot and what potentially it's needed to have the ability to obviously sell the 2 units, right? And, we concur that it needs to be some type of condo map or different map that would give you the ability to do that. So, again, there may be a way of doing it. This is not the way we reviewed the project.
Okay. So I'll just throw these things out there. That, to me, is a deal breaker as far as only being able to sell 2 units and sell a lot. That encourages the rental market. Number 2, I would want to see the house move to the west a little along the edges, and then also if you'd be open to some kind of, as a condition, additional screening on the eastern edge of landscaping or something that would prevent people from looking down. That would be my conditions for approval. If that needs more discussion, perhaps we should continue the item and you can work out the legalities of it as far as how you sell, how this needs to be, whether condo map or single family. So
We got the landscaping plan up there, and as you know, you're rotated 90 degrees, but the landscaping in the bottom right-hand corner, which is as that road goes north, as Boulder Crest goes north, it goes uphill, and so you're creating more and more elevation changes, right? So as you get to the end of that cul-de-sac, you're pretty high up. You're 30, 40 feet or something like that.
and just to be clear, I understand the dark green are your lots. No, all these lots.
Yeah, the dark green is our property, but it's the HOA maintained landscaped area.
Okay, so you're talking about.
Can I point? Was this pointer? No.
Are you talking about these here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You're saying this is HOA?
That's right. So there's a fence where the white pad stops and the green landscaping starts. It's the end of the pad right there. Yep. And all along there, kind of zigzags, but right, exactly. That's all wrought iron fence, and it's
it's wrought iron.
It's at the top of the hill, right? And then you've got landscaping that goes down, and then keep in mind that ends where a easement is located on those neighbors' lots up to the water tank. So now you've got, at the bottom of that hill, you've got some fencing or something on the left-hand side, and then you've got block wall on the right-hand side, and then their usable property stops. But actually, their property includes that road for access up to that water tank. So there's actually a pretty big gap between the pad where the white is, the slope, the flat area for the road to get to the water tank, and then a solid block wall that is the neighbor's property.
What's the approximate distance?
Maybe 50 feet.
But line of sight, I would want some kind of line of sight to see if this house can see into the backyard of this one.
True, I understand the concern.
And you're saying there's distance that would assist that?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. One, we do intend to have backyards, right? So we aren't building the houses all the way up to the edge of that. We couldn't do that if we wanted to. There are rear yard setbacks. I'm sorry.
Commission.
Sir,
Sorry.
sir, you can speak if, at the podium if you, we'd love to hear you. Thanks.
So, those are my issues on this. That's my question. I don't know if anyone else has any questions for him.
So, sorry, I was going to further answer your question. Do you mind? So we would likely set those back, the houses back, so they look back in there. If the view fencing, which is wrought iron, 6-foot view fencing, is something that you would like to have landscaped or something, so it's not see-through, we can work on that as a condition. That's something. The landscape on that slope where we were just pointing is pretty heavily already. We intentionally put landscaping there more than normal. If you wanted to enhance that, we could look at that as well. I think that's what your request was.
Thinking more line of sight, not, you've obviously tried to beautify it, invested in some nice landscape, but it's line of sight, which would be something taller. So it's line of sight that I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's just so we're clear, like if you have a line of sight and you've got a slope that comes down, you can plant a tree here that grows and you affect the line of sight. Yeah. So if that's what you're looking for, then
I don't care how it's done as long as line of sight is blocked, yeah.
Well, you heard the residents' objections, so that's what you need to be thinking about satisfying. Commissioner Thompson,
well,
you heard about the rentals now, you heard about the privacy, we talked about the traffic,
So let's take one at a time. I'm happy to do that. The traffic study was done voluntarily. It's not required. We did it, and it came back with no impact. So there's nothing more I can do there. I can't fix Honey Run. I can't fix things down to Audie Murphy Ranch. That's not what we're here for today, right? So I can't do anything about traffic, and frankly, there's no impact. That's what the study says. These guys are way smarter than me on traffic studies. The city hired a consultant to do it. They did the report. He's been up here several times explaining that. So I don't know what else I can do to share with that. The other issue of privacy, we're trying to solve with that with maybe some fencing and some landscaping and things like that. The idea of rental versus not rental, however we handle it today, it doesn't really going to give anyone any comfort. They're legally allowed to rent the units. If I buy one of these units, I could rent that unit. You could buy that unit and rent that unit. You could buy 7 of those and rent those units. Everyone in the room who owns his house or their house, they can rent those units. It's just not something you can prohibit. Again, our intention is to sell the units individually. We will figure out how to do that if the city has some sort of unusual requirement, but we typically handle that with duplexing standards, and maybe you guys just haven't had that fully worked out. But if you go down to Corona Del Mar and Newport Beach, they've got lots of single-family houses that were turned into 2 houses, individual ownerships. It's an A and B unit. There's no HOA. There's nothing like that. So I know legally it will happen. I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. We can hire someone to do it for us. But that is the intent, is to sell these individual units.
Commissioner Thomas.
Tammy, you have a question for the applicant?
Yes.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
If the consensus of the commission, obviously this is an important subject, home ownership, right? And obviously we want to make sure we get it right. My recommendation would be to see if the commission would consider maybe continuing the item, so we can go back and verify that we have the right tentative map, we have the right documentation that would allow the applicant to effectively have the ability to sell both units as he's stating that he wants to do. I just want to make sure that we're not taking action that is not going to give us that ability to do that. So I want to make sure we go back, we double check or triple check, whatever we need to do to make sure that we have the right information before you that would accomplish the things that you want.
Okay. So I would tend to agree with that, because on the first side, on his ownership, he has rights as owners. This was zoned in a certain way. That's how it's been for years. We legally, if he's agreeing with, he's met, if they have met all the standards that he's set, We cannot say no, and it is I know you guys don't want to hear this, but I went through this with my property. It is your responsibility to know what's around you, okay? And I did that too. I rode my horses across fields, and now it's all track homes. I knew it would eventually come. But what we can do as a commission is mitigate that as best we can.
Right.
So I think we should continue it. I hope that we can resolve this in a way that you can sell individual units. That would be that's a deal killer for me. It would have to be able to be sold as individual units. How you want to get there with the city, I don't care how you do it. Just make sure it's legal and that they don't have to be sold as one unit, because it would lend towards a rental issue. It would encourage rental, in my mind. If it was sold, you can only buy a lot. Number two, I would want a condition of approval. I still say we should continue this, but at the next meeting or whenever, if staff could draw this up, a condition that additional screening, line of sight screening for those lots on the eastern side be put there. However, as inexpensively as you can do it, that's fine with me. Just line of sight, so you're not looking in the backyards. And those are my two main deal killers. So, and if you can accomplish that, you have a legal right to develop your property. I would vote that you would be fulfilling your requirements.
Very good. I recommend that the residents choose a representative to meet with Sal to express while we're doing this continuance. And then you maybe all meet together, but you need to do that, Sal. You need to meet
I'd
with
be
those
happy to meet
guys.
them.
We
Sure.
need to see that you met with them. So, yeah, let's, so are there any more questions? Thank you, Sal. Well, you can. Thank you, Sal. Appreciate it. So do I need a paper for a speaker or just?
They can go ahead and, my apologies, they can go ahead and announce their names at the podium and then afterwards fill out a speaker form.
Okay, so one
For the record.
Who's going to spot?
So, Miss, you're up. Pink hat? No. Oh, yeah, you got it. Okay.
Good evening. I'm Dylan Wirtz. I live at the last house of Boulder Crest.
Hey, Bill.
As opposed to my neighbors, I'm actually a renter. I'm not an owner. We rent from her uncle. So you guys are pointing out the map with the applicant here for the houses on Ganymede, excuse me. So he's trying to justify it with that access road to the water tower and whatnot. And great for them, whatever. But I've been up the access road and whatnot. Them over there, I'm assuming it's Eli's house here. His backyard looks amazing because I see all of it and the back of his house if I go up that hill. That's where these duplexes are going to be. That poor gentleman's going to lose
Your
all.
time's kind of, so get to the chase.
Okay,
What
I'm sorry.
is it?
So he's trying to justify it with this road and whatever. He mentioned a wrought iron fence that doesn't exist. There's no wrought iron fence there. Trying to say they're farther away and you can't see. That's not true. And then my house and the Rose house, which they stepped out at the end of Boulder Crest, based on the map there, our backyards are touching. So I know it's not up anymore. You're talking about these mitigation tactics to try to increase privacy. The way he's mentioning it for them doesn't work for our houses. Also, you're Commissioner Thomas, excuse me, you're mentioning this is kind of like a done deal if they come to an agreement. There's nothing legally you can stop it. I would ask to mitigate during the construction process. I've been in law enforcement for 10 years. Construction brings crime. Theft of their equipment while they're building, their materials, their appliances and whatnot as those go in, the copper and all that. That's going to bring a lot of criminal traffic in front of our houses. My neighbors all have nice things. I'd like them to keep them. I'd like to keep my stuff. I bring my unit home. I don't want these criminals to realize a cop lives at the end of that street, because what that does is they learn my schedule and they come back when my family's home alone. I would like some type of mitigation put in place as part of the approval during the construction process. Maybe they have to staff Menifee PD there on an overtime slot, or mark security, cameras, things like that. I would ask as a condition of approval to keep the current residents safe, if you're saying this is going to happen one way or the other. I got nothing else.
Discuss that. Go ahead, finish, and we'll bring him up and talk. I have a question for him in regards to that.
Sure. I have nothing else. Thank you.
Any other persons that want to speak?
Yeah,
The
sure.
landscape map?
Yeah, can you tell him your name?
Chantel Avila, or text, you said? Sorry?
She wants the map back up?
Yeah, the land. Oh, my name's Chantel Avila. I'll wait for the map.
IT, will you please bring up the map?
Just give them 1 minute. There we go.
Okay, So if you guys see where that yellow highlighted box is, that's the end of my street. Lot 1 right next to that highlighted box that you're pointing at, a little more to the right? To the right. Lot 1 is directly against my backyard. Yeah, to the right. Yeah, to the right. Lot 1, that's directly to my backyard where my pool is. There is no greenery, no separation, no nothing. And I do understand the point of fact where we should have done our research when moving into this home, but I don't think we could have predicted sharing a backyard with a lot with 2 homes, 2 additional neighbors. So I think that should be taken into consideration, having to share, moving into a single family home community and having to share your backyard with where my pool is at with another 2 families. No disrespect to them or anybody, but that's not fair. And we're seeing all the greenery there, but nothing here, so. Or in those homes. So there's a lot of homes missing that padding.
So we could put wording in, I'm speaking to you, not her. We could put wording in that any necessary screening.
Commissioner, yes. May we wait until we get all these comments from additional speakers, and then we can come back to the commission to discuss. Thank you. So please propose your questions, issues to the commission. They can't really respond to you right now, but they will discuss after.
Sorry, it's my first time.
See, now you have the opportunity to speak directly to the applicant. Not here, not now.
Oh,
but I mean,
okay. Oh, no.
meet him in the lobby, you guys, when
Got
you're
it.
leaving, and get contact.
Okay, no, yeah,
info,
I just want
'cause-
that to be taken into consideration.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
My name is Dave Bridgewater. I live on the home right on the corner of Ridgemore and Boulder Crest. I've got serious questions about the traffic study that was done. I spent 28 years in law enforcement in Orange County. I see what happens to neighborhoods that go from single-family residence to what I would call mid-level, which would be duplexes. We saw quite a bit of traffic increase when they put in the Skyview complex, but we're willing to take that because we realize that's part of the game. But the duplex, I don't know about this traffic study. How many cars did they say was going to be coming? 34 hours or 34 miles? What was the study saying?
35 a.m. peak hour trips and about 40.
Okay, so we're talking 35 peak trips, so that means if we have 74 units, that would mean that only 1 out of every 2 units would have a car. We know for a fact that each of those units will probably have, because we know in California, you have to have 2 people working in order to afford, you're gonna have 2 cars in each unit. So we're looking at over 120 to 130 cars just in that area. How can we then say, well, only we're looking at 30? What are they gonna be doing? Are they coming at noon? We know that's gonna increase. Mr. Knighton, you said you stood out in front of Ridgemore. I drive by there all the time, and after being law enforcement and being on the school board for 8 years, I can tell you some of the problems with schools. And I can tell you, not only do you have a problem there with the number of cars going through there, but you also have it over on Audie Murphy. There are times where you cannot go down La Ladera or down Normandy because of the cars picking up and dropping off. Now we're gonna be adding, the school district says, well, we're only looking about 20-something kids, so 1 kid per 3 units. I don't think so. Like I said, I've seen those studies. I've done those studies. I've been part of those studies. This one is flawed. I can't tell you where it's flawed at, but I can tell you their numbers are way low. They're not looking at reality now. So when we say it's not going to be a big deal, it's no big deal, it will be a big deal to us. I left Orange County strictly for the reason I was tired of listening to my brothers going code 3 up and down the streets all night. The freeway traffic. Now I'm going back. I bought a home that was nice and quiet. I can sit in my front door and listen to the bees in the morning. Pretty soon it's going to be right back to listening to traffic patterns. That's not why I moved here. If I would have known this was going to happen, I was going to end up with duplexes, I would have just stayed in Orange County because it would have been about the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Carlos Rodriguez, and thank you for every one of you for the time.
My question, we have the fire marshal over here. If you see me with the Honda uniform, I'm in charge of the maintenance facility, and I'm in charge of 5 facilities. Question for you, Marshal. How many exits we need to have in this building? A lot, right?
Sir, please direct your questions to the commission and
Okay, how many exits we need to have in one building?
Whatever the code says.
A lot, right? How many exits we have in that area? 2. Okay, let me bring this. We have the fires in Santa Monica or whatever, right in the coast area. We have Bridgewater mentioned, well, he mentioned 30 cars. That's 74 units times 2 is 150. But most of the people have 3 cars or 4 cars. Okay, if we have fire, because she mentioned it's a high-risk fire in that area. Okay? If we have fire, everybody has to get out from there. People coming out and a fire unit is coming in. Okay? I know you guys are in charge of planning. If you're planning, you need to have an exit to Quail Valley. I know you don't want to do that way because you have to open properties in Quail Valley. But I recommend, it's not our decision, it's your decision. We pay taxes, and we pay a lot of taxes. So we make the decision to you guys, or we leave the decision to you guys to consider how many exits we need to have in the area. I know Michael, or Mr. Michael, he said he's sitting right in front of the high school, the elementary. I leave my house at 4 o'clock in the morning. I cannot tell you how much traffic I can catch on the area, but I can tell you how much traffic I catch on La Ladera, Normandy, and go all the way around to Newport. So we only have 2 exits, Ladera and Richmore. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Carlos. Are there any other speakers? Okay.
I guess I have to, Jim Noon again.
Jim.
I guess I have to pose the question to you, but what company is Sal associated with right now? Don't know.
Yeah, he's the applicant.
He's the applicant. Generic.
Well, that's okay, though.
But there was a one-page website, I think it was called Oak Hills West LLC. His name was on that. When it disappeared, I Googled, Oak Hills West. Well, actually, I Googled his name, and he was listed as a partner with WD Land. I think there was I think there was a totally different name mentioned today. But I also heard from someone that's part of, the city of Menifee, that was the plan, that you had to buy both halves of the duplex, and which made no sense to me, other than it's your intention to not sell them individual lots and get the package prepared and bundled. Did it cut out?
No.
And sell it all as a finished project or a ready-to-build project, because I don't know, I assume that Sal's company's not going to be building them. We didn't hear that. I'm skeptical, I think they're going to wind up being, 100% rentals. They prepare a package, you work with a builder, or Tricon does, and and there's already 2 Tricon projects in Menifee. So don't want to see it turned into rentals, because it's going to hurt the valuation of our homes. And I don't think we should have to pay the price for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Sonia Verduzco again.
Hey,
So
Sonia.
I just wanted to clarify that when I brought up Honey Run, I wasn't suggesting it as a place to use, like another access, I was bringing up the point that we couldn't count on the city back then or the builder back then to make sure that that would continue to go through and create another access. So not only are we out that one potential access that could have been, now if you open it up, you'd be opening it up into somebody's backyard in the Audie Murphy community. But my compadre who came up earlier, who mentioned that we have that limited access, that's really a major concern for us. So if you bring up the map again, just because I believe some folks would like to see it again, the concern is Polaris and Boulder Crest. It's not enough space to get up there in cases of emergency, let alone quality of life for the people in those neighboring communities. I appreciate Mr. Madrid's recommendation of having a representative from the community to speak with the applicant. I'd like to propose that it be 2, though, at minimum.
Oh, it can be as many as you want.
Okay, got it. One for the Skyview community because of the Polaris access, and then one for the Newport Hills community.
The more communication, the better.
That would be excellent. And to that point, thank you for bringing it up, is the fact that the mailers that were sent out, I don't know if you're aware of this, Sal, poor Sal, but we have break-ins into our mailboxes where we live. And so there's a lot of communication. If that's the only way or the primary way, it's not getting to folks. And I was upset to find out that there were some people in our community and the surrounding neighborhoods that got notification that others did not. So there were different types of communication that was being sent out. So I don't know what led to that, but that would be super helpful if that did not happen again. And I think that's it. I just want to thank the commissioners because I really get the sense that you heard us, you received us, and you pushed it even further by proposing other mitigation measures. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you,
That's all.
Sonia. Your turn, Greg.
Greg Pasco again. Hey, traffic, to me, it goes from, you know, we have maybe 4 or 5 cars come up and do a turnaround in Boulder Crest a day. So to say that it doesn't impact us, it does. You know, that's 150 cars. I don't need to worry about backing out of my driveway right now and worrying about whether or not a car's going to be coming zooming by because there's no way to slow them down. You know, is this going to be a gated community? You know what I mean? So if it's not a gated community, then it's going to be, you know, 60 plus if you want, you know, going up through there. I know what the speed limits are going to be, but I mean, they're going to come around there, you know, with the new community that it's already gone down Ridgemore. They're blowing that stop sign as it is right now. I've almost gotten in 2 or 3 car accidents because they just blow the stop sign as it is. It's going to be even worse with this community up here, you know. You're talking about, you know, putting in trees. Well, how long is it going to take a tree to get to maturity to block that view? You know, that's years down the road, you know. So you're not going to put in mature trees. So, you know, we're looking at years down the road before we get maturity. You also mentioned, okay, well, you know, you should have done a little more investigation about, you know, the building that's going to go on around your house in the future. Okay, well, those were going to be single-family homes. It's not going to be duplexes. Why would you put duplexes so far up into a single-family home community? This is, you know, and sure, you're going to rent. A lot of people are going to rent these places. You know, across the street, they rented a place. Just like you said, they're going to rent a place, right? People across the street showed up with 7 cars and 3 families in 1 unit. It's going to happen. And then you're going to put 74 more units up there for that kind of traffic. So to tell me that there traffic impact, that there is none, nah, bro, that's not it. You know, I got less than 5 cars a day right now, and that's going to be 150 cars up there coming in at least twice a day just to go to work. How about to go to the grocery store or to take their kids to school? No, you're not going to tell me that that's not going to impact our traffic. There's no way. You can do all your little statistics and everything else. It's wrong. And this is my community. This is where I live. This is where my friends live. This is where friends that have kids live. Now we're gonna have to worry about how fast they're coming up and down that street because there is nothing to slow them down at that point like the cul-de-sac is. We're gonna have to worry about whether or not kids are gonna get hit, out there in their front yard going out to chase a ball. It's all gonna be bad. And when somebody gets hurt up there, it's gonna be a big problem.
Thank you,
A really
Greg.
big problem.
Thank you very much. Okay, do one more speaker, okay?
I just take 30 seconds of your time. It's me, Eli, again. So, Planning Commission, have you been out there?
Yeah.
Have you been on that slope, the highest eastern north slope, or where they want to build some of the duplexes, and saw the view towards our community? If not all of you did, I invite you to, so you could see the impact it will make, even the setbacks you're trying to, tell them to mitigate. If they're gonna sell the view and have see-through iron fences with that 30 feet slope, how is that gonna do us any good? Like I heard, some of our houses on Ganymede, I'm pretty sure Boulder Crest has a lot of kids in their backyard, even pools or spas. So I thank you for considering privacy, but it's really important for us with this development. Thank you.
Thank you, Eli. We'll see it. Sal, could you come back up to the podium, please? Commissioner Knighton?
Yeah, Sal, I don't know if, actually, this is a question for staff or not. Chris brought up Chris brought up a bunch of conditions and additional conditions, but I'm gonna ask staff too. Can 24/7 security be a condition of approval?
I don't see why not.
Okay.
So the question about that.
The reason I bring that up, this gentleman right here, you said law enforcement. What was your name? Dylan. Dylan brought up his background in law enforcement, and he was concerned about crime, construction crime. Like I mentioned before, that 236 unit complex is right near my house. They do have 24/7 security. I've had interest to go check it out just to see how the development's coming along. I can't go in there because there's a guy 24/7 in a car. I mean, I don't know if he's there during construction time periods, but I do know overnight, weekends, whatever, there's someone there monitoring the place. As far as I know, I have an open line of communication with the developer from back when he was door knocking for any concerns I had. He has not mentioned any crime of anybody coming in there, breaking into the units, stealing refrigerators, dishwashers, raiding the Romex, condensing units, things like that. So I would like to see at least 24/7, not 24/7, but at least, you know I'm getting, security involved.
Well, you don't have to make that decision now.
Yeah,
I hear you.
You gotta get
I hear
back to your.
Just as a clarification, you're talking about during the construction process?
During the construction process to make the project less desirable for the hoodlums.
Yeah, you don't want the attractive nuisance, I get that. Open to that. What we typically do is have site security with both perimeter fencing, cameras, things like that. If it escalates, then we tend to have a manned cruiser or something to be there to deter people. Not sure how much it deters, right? It's depending on what you're dealing with. We've built in a lot of different areas, some very urban, and sometimes even having a person there doesn't stop it. But we don't want our things stolen. We don't want things are vandalized. It hurts property values. It hurts, from that we're trying to build, where it takes time off our schedule. It's a real pain, right? So we're 100% aligned on that. I would hate to have a requirement, a condition that's 24/7 from the get-go. But I would support something where we put in the traditional measures and then escalate it if it does escalate.
However the wording comes out, but you know where I'm
I just want
going.
to be fair about it. Yeah, for
That'll
sure.
satisfy.
That's the key.
Yeah, I appreciate that. He had a couple comments that I wanted to address, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Dylan, right? Yeah. Maybe you can put up the site plan again. Landscaping plan is really popular. You've got the house on the left-hand side as you go into our community, right? Adjacent. Yeah, so you got the little bit of yellow area, right? That was kind of intended as a buffer there. But you're saying that your edge there should be enhanced in some fashion, similar to the way we're going to try to enhance the bottom right-hand corner. I'm open to doing that. If I can look at the landscaping plan and
Right.
yeah, I think. Not current. It's the future. Right. Right.
So what we need you to do, Sal, is with the community, you need to get these conditions that they want. You guys need to get these conditions to us. Okay? We're not going to do anything tonight.
We're happy to consider reasonable conditions.
Well, you're going to be working with planning and you're going to be working with them, so.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't remember the fence plan, but there's a specific plan for walls and fences, and there's a key that shows which one's going to be block walls, which one will be retaining walls, which one will be wrought iron fence, things like that. And so I don't remember what yours is on that edge. Usually the projects have a block wall all the way around the perimeter, so I'd be surprised if it wasn't. And if it's not, then we can do something like that. So you're not sharing backyard.
Very good. Anything else, commissioners?
I have some discussion for us, so we can close the public hearing so we
Okay,
can chat.
well, we have,
Sorry, sir, will you please approach the podium in order to make your public comment and state your name? Thank you.
He already has 6 minutes.
Greg Pasco again. There is a water line that goes up over into Quail Valley, and it's almost on the surface of the property up there. I guess that's going to be dealt with by EMWD or something.
It'll go through inspections, I'm sure.
Yeah, because they've been talking about that for a long time.
Okay.
So, and I'm hoping, because I had backflow devices in my front yard when I first got up there, and those were all stolen.
Whoa.
So, I don't know how it's going to affect our water pressures and whatnot up in that area. So,
Okay, thank you, Greg. Okay, so there are no other speakers. I'm going to close the public hearing at 8:17. Commissioners, let's
Chair?
talk.
My apologies. I just wanted to make a quick comment. We talked about traffic. Just for clarification for members of the public, when we say there are no traffic impacts, under CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act, there are certain standards that are required for developers to review traffic, right? The laws have changed, particularly in 2020. It changed from levels of service, or LOS, to VMT, vehicle miles traveled. And so for those who may have been involved in previous projects or in other jurisdictions, several years ago, the standards have changed. And so when we say there are no impacts, we're saying there are no significant impacts mandating, further extensive environmental review. Now, the level of service analysis that the city requires is for informational purposes to determine whether additional road improvements or things like that are required. But again, under the law, traffic impacts have to be significant or in order to be mitigated. So I just wanted to clarify that when we say there's no impacts, we really do mean that it's just less than significant under the law. Thank you.
Thank you, Ty. So now, commissioners, let's talk. Chris?
I wanted to say a couple things which might be heard by other people in the room. First of all, it is perfectly fine to have your name on multiple companies.
Yes.
That's a non-issue. Doesn't mean you're ethical, it means you're busy at work. So that's a non-issue, doesn't mean anything. I think it should be said, if the public is not happy with the decision here, I totally hear you. You have a right to appeal. They have a right to appeal to the city council. So if they feel like we did not address it significant enough, they should appeal it to the council, and they need to make that decision. I would encourage that we continue this to resolve the legal issue as far as whether these can be sold as separate units. Work that out. And then putting a condition that line of sight needs to be screened, however that needs to happen. That needs to be a condition, and then that's my main issues here.
Michael?
First of all, I want to thank you for coming in here tonight. It's great to see, and then all these emails here too. This is the process. You know, we hear it. Our last meeting, the room was empty. It's great to see you guys in here, so we can go back and forth. The applicant can hear concerns. We can hear concerns, and so I want to thank you for taking time out of your evening for coming here tonight. I agree with your conditions. Maybe we can look into them. I also agree that the applicant should possibly meet with a handful of local homeowners and address the security like I just mentioned a few minutes back. And other than that, I'm in support of a continuance.
And in respect to the property owner, I would suggest a continuance to date certain. Is that possible?
That's what we would recommend, and we would probably need maybe a month to come back so we can basically go over and flush the issues that came out of today's meetings.
Thank you, Orlando. Commissioner Ramirez, what say you?
Yes, thank you all for being here and showing your passion for your community. I really appreciate it. Before our youngest member leaves, thank you to the youngest member of the community that was here. And
I agree.
yeah, he did amazing. Yeah. I do agree with the conditions of approval. I also do think it is really important that the developer engages with the residents, so that way, you know, those concerns are really, really fleshed out. I do agree with the surveillance and the screening and the figuring out the whole lot issue, if it's going to be sold individually or as a whole. I just appreciate everyone here and having robust discussion because it's so important to this process. So yes, I'm in agreement.
Thank you, Commissioner. I agree with everything that was just said. I also recommend that we do a continuance. So at that, Orlando, how do we define that?
We would need a motion to continue to April 23rd, and we would obviously need a second and then a motion by the commission.
Okay, can I get a motion to continue to April 23rd?
A motion.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay.
With the stuck screen.
Me too.
Yeah, mine's stuck as
Well, you want to take a verbal vote?
Yes, so just to reiterate, Commissioner Knighton motioned and Commissioner Ramirez second. Okay, so Commissioner Knighton?
I believe it was Chris that made the motion.
I made the first motion.
Oh, okay. Okay, so now Commissioner Knighton?
Aye.
Commissioner Ramirez?
Aye.
Commissioner Thomas?
Aye.
And Chair Madrid?
Aye. See you all April 23rd. Thank you for coming, Sonia. Appreciate your expertise. And thank you, officer, to forget what he said. That's okay, as long as you take a bullet for us. Okay, now we get this settled down here. Okay. So, item 10, there are no discussion items. Item 11, Community Development Director comments. I'm not going to call you interim. Let's go.
Chair
Community
Madrid, no comments for today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we, commissioners, do we have any future?
Hey, Orlando?
agenda? What?
Can I get an update? I wanted an update on something, but now I can't remember. I didn't write it down. So,
So what did you,
I don't know. Sorry.
so scratch that from the
I'm
record.
gonna scratch that. Maybe next meeting.
He's gonna remember right now, you watch. Okay, do we have any future agenda requests from planning commissioners? No? Okay. So, excuse me? Oh yeah, item 12, commissioner reports on committee activities. Go, Michael.
You know it. On March 14th, I attended the Rotary Gala of Menifee with Randy and Orlando. On March 24th, I attended the ribbon cutting for the Menifee Valley Business Park along with Chairman Madrid and ACDD Hernandez. Also on the 24th, I attended the Menifee Innovation District Community Workshop with Commissioner Ramirez and ACDD Hernandez. And yesterday, I attended the Menifee Placemaking, Unique Identity, and Tourism Master Plan Workshop with ACDD Hernandez. And that's it.
Good week.
You were busy.
I know I need a nap.
Yeah. As Commissioner Knighton shared, we were together yesterday at the
Monday at the
innovation.
workshop.
Yeah,
Southern
thank
EDC.
you. Please help me because I'm tired.
It's been a long night, Commissioner.
Yeah. So we were there, and it was really great. There was a great turnout, and people were interested and were sharing their ideas, and it was really great to see that. So
Thank you, Alberto. Appreciate it. So, Nick, thanks for being here, Nick. Staff. Okay, so I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 8:26 PM.